Hello and welcome back to Living Not Existing. As always, I'm Josh, and on today's episode, I might as well just get started. Really, I'm going to be tackling the allotment because, as you've probably noticed over the past sort of month or so, videos have been a bit far and few between. And that's just because, me and Rachel have been going to different festivals and different events and things like that we have planned during the year. So not being able to get down to the allotment as much, obviously on the weekends and stuff, and get everything sorted, and doing all tasks and stuff. So basically, I need to give myself a bit of a slap on the wrist because I've not been very good, and the allotment has just gone crazy because it's been hot, wet weather. So the weeds have taken over. The crops are doing well though, which is a bonus, which I'll show you around all the crops and how they're doing in a minute. Because grow update wise, things are going great. Apart from one thing, which has ended up getting put on the back burner a little bit for one reason or another, is my tomatoes. Now they're a little bit sad, unfortunately, or a lot sad, because they've been in the heat of the greenhouse. It's still in those pots from when I potted them on before, so they're not very happy, really. So I need to get that sorted out ASAP. And which being today, because if you remember in the last episode, I did plan on getting the tomatoes all sorted, and then I had some friends turn up, and they gave me a hand doing the shed, and it just turned into getting the shed done. Which on that, the following day there was an absolute catastrophe. So obviously put the shed up to the extent that it is now, with the cross braces and everything. And just before I left, I made sure I give it a right good shake around to think, right, is this shed well rooted down? Is it going to move with wind or anything like that? Now I give it a right good shake and thought, nah, this isn't going to move. No way on earth can the wind push this. I'm putting in quite a good bit of force into this. Wind can't be as strong as this. And, to put it short, I was very wrong. And the wind came overnight and blew the shed down. So completely flattened. And in fact, I'll quickly show you a picture of that now. But yeah, so that's what it was like. It was absolutely just flattened. And I was just walked in and I was just like, I can't believe that. And walked out. I was just, when it just hits you and you're like, I can't believe that's destroyed itself. And then a couple of days afterwards, me and Rachel came down with a couple of ratchet straps and pulled it all back up into shape. And it's all okay now and back how it was. So as you'll see in a minute, obviously on the allotment, it's all back to normal again on that shed. But no further progress, barring the fact that I've managed to acquire some pieces of wood for it, for the floor and the walls and stuff like that, which is just in a big pile as usual. But yeah, so that's that. But back to the tomatoes anyway. So they've been left in those pots and stuff like that, and they're not very happy. So the number one job, first job today, is to get them planted outside in that bit I was going to do, and also to see if I can manage to make room and get them planted actually in the greenhouse as well, to get that all sorted. So that's today's main task. But the secondary task is to tackle the weeds, as per. So, because the beds have got absolutely crazily covered over with weeds, to the extent where you can't really tell the difference between the crops and the weeds. But the positive note on the crops, with where all the weeds are, is that me and Rachel came down and netted it all over. Just last week, I believe it was. Just netted everything all over. Because, I don't know if you remember me saying about obviously the white fly problem I thought it was, or the bugs or whatever, and obviously realised that it was pigeons is what have been eating everything from talking to people and stuff like that, and seeing things as well firsthand. So we netted all that up, and the crops are doing great now. They're starting to come back through from having all the leaves eaten. So that's a bonus positive, that the fact that that's happened. But I'm going to have to pull that off, get in and pull all the weeds out, because as I always keep saying, weeds will pull out the nutrients as well. So I need to get them gone majorly. But they're all big enough to just grab in clumps and throw them, as you'll see in a minute, because they're just stupidly taken over. It's like being back to day one in the allotment now. But yeah, so basically that's it. And then just having a bit of a organised round. But as I say, the main job is to get those tomatoes sorted and try and get on top of things. Because everything's starting to flower or has flowered and it's fruiting and or getting to this next stages in its plant life and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I might as well jump out of here and go on the plot. So I'll see you there in a second. Right, so as you can now see, we're now on the plot, and you can see the meshed area in which, well, the mesh netting in which we've put over, and obviously the vast amount of weeds in there. But as for grow update wise, I'll just have a bit of a wander around the allotment and show you what's going on. So as you can see through here, there's the red cabbages, and they're all coming on rather nicely now. Starting to get some multiple levels going on and some good leaves. There was one that did get a little bit overly eaten, but it's starting to pull back through. So that's them basically, which I'm happy about them, because as you can see there is holes in all the leaves where they were all eaten a bit, but they're not too bad really overall. Whereas the cauliflower, now you got absolutely eaten alive, as you can see obviously on if you can see through the net, these actual leaves here where they're basically non-existent, and then see some bigger ones that are still there, as well as the middle ones are starting to come through, which is quite nice on quite a few of them. As you can see, the middle leaves are starting to come through that are actually all right, which I'm happy about, so hopefully they're going to pull back through. Then I've got the radishes that I've left in, that I've let go to seed to collect seeds ready for them for next year, is the idea. So yeah, so that's them. Then the next one, of course, the next bed is the purple sprout and broccoli, and I still don't know what it's meant to look like, so I've still just left that basically. So I may have purple sprout and broccoli already in there, in amongst that lot for all I know, but I don't have a clue. So I'll see what happens on that, or it might not have germinated. So I'm going to check that over as well at some point, if I manage to get onto the weeding of that bit of bed today. Now the next one, not that you can particularly tell in here, but there is one plant that you can see right at the front here, and that's me sprouts. And they were eaten a bit, but they seem to have come back quite nicely, so they seem to be doing all right. So obviously I need to, yet again, obviously get all that lot weeded and get all that sorted out. Yeah, so that's that. And the next thing in the big long bed is the sweet corn, and the sweet corn is doing absolutely amazing, to the extent I've even got a little flower thing or something, I'm not sure, in there. But then I have noticed that they've actually got little extra shoots in here as well, so it'd be interesting to see how all these grow, because never grown sweet corn, or never successfully grown sweet corn anyway. So this is the best I've ever seen it grow, so I'm intrigued to see what the next stages are with it. But when I came down the other day and saw that in there on a few of them, as you can see, looks hopeful, because to me that kind of looks like a little corn on the cob thing. So, but we'll see what that turns into, because I don't know. But yeah, so that's going pretty well. Next bit, the herb garden bed, and the spring onions first, and they're getting rather nice and big, which is all good. And there's quite a few of them coming through, all sizing up quite nice, so I'm happy about that. And then, but yeah, again, obviously more weeds. And next bit is just the herb garden thing. So as you can see, the lavender's coming through nicely, and we've actually got quite a few flower bits on it as well, which is nice. So I'll be able to get all them collected up soon. Now, one of the bad things is my dill plant here. It's just, some bits are doing great. This thing looks like it's got some sort of flowers on this one or something, but then a lot of it has actually died off, as you can see in here, and I'm not sure why, because there was nothing wrong with it. It's not like it's had a lack of water or anything like that particularly, unless it needs loads of water, and I don't know about that. But compared to the rest, it's all been fine, but it seems to have like dried itself out a bit. So I'm not entirely sure what the problem with it is with it there, but it doesn't seem to be very happy on where it's placed, so I might have to look into that a bit more. Next one, which is thriving, is the coriander, and it's getting massive, and it's covered in flowers, which is lovely. So be able to get some of the actual little, what I think are actually classified as fruits, actually, off of this, and then be able to make some of that, you know, like the dried coriander, like powder you get, chili powder stuff you get. Be able to make some of that out of that, hopefully, all being well. But we'll see how that goes in the future. Next one is the oregano, and that's pretty much just the same as it was really, just sort of gradually growing along. Same with the sage, if you can sort of tell where that is in amongst all the weeds there. Now the thyme is looking lovely, absolutely covered in flowers, so that's all there like that. The chives are thriving in there, but as you can see, obviously buried like everything. But the most buried has to be the basil in here, all of this lot. So desperately need to get that out into the open. And then there's the parsley, and that's doing pretty well too. So yeah, so the herb garden's going pretty well. They're all growing rather large and could do with a trim back, as well as obviously the weeds getting sorted. But yeah, so progress on that is doing well, and they seem to be getting nicely established, which is nice. Now, next bit is me beans. And as you can see, they've actually started to flower up already, even though they're only small. But yet again, hard to tell what's beans and what's weeds. But where you can see the little red flowers, that's where me beans, the ones that have actually come through, are. So see how that goes. Next bit, which is even harder to tell, is peas, which are all here. Now I've only actually ended up getting a couple of plants that came through, so I think I'm going to try plant some more peas and beans in the greenhouse in some little pots once I get those tomatoes planted on out of them, and see if I can manage to get them to germinate in there, and then move them out here and see how that works, just for the second half of this bed, because basically the second half hasn't got anything in, so it's just wasted space. So I need to get that sorted. And then the next one is my, what are they, the dwarf French beans over here, and I think this is them. I think, because I've got multiple plants like that, and I did spot something that looked like them coming up, which I think was this the other day, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm yet to dig out what could be them, because they didn't seem to germinate for ages in comparison to the rest, and then I've lost what they're meant to be in the mess. So yeah. Now for the least messy bed, and the one doing the best, is the courgettes and cucumbers. Now one of the other things me and Rachel just did one of the nights when we quickly nipped down here the other night was put these poles in on the cucumber. And the good thing is, with all this wet warm weather that's making all the weeds grow like wildfire, the cucumbers are as well, and it's actually ready for getting tied up again at another point on all three of these plants, which is quite nice. So they're growing really well. But then the thing that has to be growing the best from the entire plot so far is the courgettes. Now I'm astonished by how well these are doing. They've all had plenty of flowers on, or got plenty more flowers to come. But then there's actually, come around here, a lovely big courgette in there, just growing quite nicely, as well as obviously a few more kicking about on all of these plants, which is brilliant. So there's going to be a massive harvest of courgettes, which I'm rather happy about. But yeah, they're going great. So that's, for out here, that's about it really. Did get some nice strawberries off the strawberry plants over there, but I ate them, so unfortunately I can't show you them. But yeah, so they're over there. Kiwi plant wise, it's lived and it's doing great. It's just growing and growing, so that's obviously a good bonus. Archie, stop making a mess. So but yeah, so that's all the kiwi plant, but there's been no flowers or anything on this yet, so hopefully maybe next year it might be flowering and or fruiting, but we're yet to see what happens on that. And I really hope it does, because it'd be lovely to be able to actually have some homegrown kiwi fruit. But yeah, so the next thing is the monstrosity of the greenhouse, and the peppers are all right in there, if you can tell where they are. That's one of the plants right at the fingertip with my finger there is one of them, and that's growing quite well. And it seems to be that the two on this side are doing miles better than the two on this side for some reason. Don't know why that is. It might just be a funny coincidence, but yeah. So there's that. It might, or maybe it could be because it's near the door and it's colder, but who knows. So but yeah, so there's that. And then as for the rest of the things in here, as you can see, the tomatoes are really not very happy at all. So as I've said, that is task number 1 today, is to get them all put in. And then just get in a little bit further because I'm having to tackle trying to get in here. And there's a lovely spider right there, if you can sort of see that speck in front of the camera. So I'm trying to keep away from that because the camera isn't picking up how nasty looking that is, unfortunately. But yeah, I need to deal with that. But yeah, so the ghost chilies, I don't even know what's going on with them. Some are thriving and some are dying, and they've been off and on and weirdly. But then I'll just try and deal with this spider so I can get in. There we go. Right, I'm in now. The actual titty melons have germinated and are going great, which is brilliant. So they're probably going to need potting on soon because I want to make sure that they thrive, because they were like the only seeds I've really got of them. So I want to make sure that they're all good. But there seems to be at least 2 plants that are really thriving. So, and obviously if I manage to get a melon on that, then that means I've got more seeds and I can keep them going. And hopefully they're edible. I still don't know that. If anyone knows whether those funny titty melon plants, which I'll show you the packet, in case anyone happens to have got any when they were on holiday as well. There. If anyone knows if they're edible, please do let me know in the comments below. That'd be much appreciated. And but that's it really for in here. Obviously other stuff I've just sort of like the leftover peppers. They're there and I've just let them die off and things. But yeah, that's it for in here. Obviously there is the Venus flytrap, but that's not worked, annoyingly, for some reason. Obviously it's dry now because I haven't watered yet as of this morning when I first got down here, because I'm going to be pulling those tomatoes out of there and planting them and then giving them a jolly good water. So yeah, but so I'm going to get some water and water the other things, get them sorted and get doing these tomatoes. So the idea, as you've seen before, is to plant them here. So I'm going to crack on with getting that bit sorted out now, ready for getting them planted in. So I'll do that and I'll show you the next bit. Right, so as you can now see, I've got that entire sort of greenhouse base area all dug over, and then the couple of grow bags that were still just sat basically here, I've now got them put in the rest of the area that I hadn't done when I'd sort of done this half slightly beforehand. Now got all that dug in, all turned over, broken up with the rake and then raked over as well, so it's all looking really nice now. And then as you can see, obviously there's little tomato plants everywhere. So what I've done is I've actually taken that big tray of tomatoes out of the greenhouse, and then I've just had a look through every single one of them and found basically the best ones I believe for going outside, and out some of the best ones out of the lot as well. So the reasons behind me choosing these particular ones for outside is pretty much because they're bigger, and I thought things aren't going to grow as well outside as they would do in the greenhouse, so I've chosen the good smaller ones for in the greenhouse and then the good bigger ones for outside. So hopefully my logic works well. But yeah, so these are obviously yet to be planted into the ground, but as far as actually where they're going to be placed is Archie, shush please, is pretty much where they are now. And Archie's obsessed with this new stick he's found. But yeah, so anyway, so these ones here are the money makers. So just to see how each plant actually looks, there you go. Now this one I found interesting. It's kind of like not opened itself up at all and just stayed all closed in that fashion. So hopefully that all opens up rather nicely. But yeah, so that's each one of them, and that's going to be the money maker growing area. Now the next three at the back here are all the tamanas, and as you can see they're all doing semi alright. But yeah, and then so the back will be tamanas, and then this side of course is going to be the red cherries. So
There's for each plant, as you can see, how they're doing. That one's not very happy, but it's big and alright, and it actually already has a little tomato on it. There's a couple of them that actually already have little tiny tomatoes on them. So yeah, but basically that is what that looks like. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the holes dug for where they're going in. So you just see a little hole, you know how to plant things. It's a little hole, and then putting them in, obviously taking them out of the pot because they're not compostable pots. But yeah, so I'm just going to get them all planted in there and then give them a jolly good water, and that's that task done. As for the outside bit. Now for the inside bit, I did have just a little bit of a sort out just now to be able to get actually through to the tomato plants, but the idea is to put them here. So I need to have a bit more of an organised in this region after I've got these planted in, and get that ready in order for me to plant some tomatoes in there as well, just to get that sorted. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to sort out this back corner. I think I'm going to get my watermelon plant planted as well, because that could do with getting planted on. And then that's just more tasks getting quickly rattled off. So I'll get them planted, and then I'll get the rest of things planted. So I'll do that now, and I'll see you in a little bit. Right, so as you can now see, I've now got all of those tomatoes planted quite nicely, where they're all perfectly in line and all that sort of thing, in that bed there. It's all looking rather great. So well happy with that. And then I've also watered them all already now, as you can see sort of on that one there, it's a bit damper around it. And then what I've done is I made sure that, obviously with it being a sunny day, didn't get any water on the leaves, because I don't want to end up causing any burns to the leaves when the plants are in that sort of condition anyway, quite not very happy. So hopefully they'll start perking up rather soon, which will be quite nice. But yeah, so that's that all done. Now I've also done all the greenhouse as well. So I mean, at the moment it's a bit of a mess out here, so I need to sort that out next. But as for the actual greenhouse, it's now been weeded in the beds, turned over, all the soil fined up and raked and everything, and then I've planted me plants and weeded around those peppers as well. And yeah, so I'll show you what the score is in here. So what I've done is I've just gone for the 3 tomato plants in here, starting with a moneymaker, then a red cherry, and then a tamina. So I've got those 3 on there. And then what I've just done for the watermelon wise is I planted both of those watermelons down there, and then I planted both of the best titty melons just there. And then this framework thing, the greenhouse inception thing I had going on, what I've done is I've taken the outer coating of that greenhouse thing off, and then left it so it's just that frame. And then what I'll do is, when these different watermelons and the titty melons all start to get a bit bigger, I'll end up growing them within all this lot, kind of like you would with beans. And then I'll also tie some bits across from these sort of diagonals into these pieces of wood and that as well, just to have them growing up there and up on here, and try and rest the watermelons onto here, because you can grow watermelons like a vine up over, or you can grow them a lot trailing along the ground. But if you grow them up over like a vine, you have to suspend the actual watermelon with something or other. Like you could use a pair of tights strung across, for example, and have them sat in a pair of tights, just to keep them up, because obviously as the fruit gets bigger, it gets heavier and obviously wants to fall. But yeah, so that's that, which I'm rather pleased with. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to see if I can manage to find anywhere for that lot, or what I can do with it, and then basically start weeding these is the next task, because obviously this lot isn't going to be growing very well if it's all taken over. So I think I'll probably end up getting started on that next, as I say, after I've tried to figure out where I'm putting all that lot now. So I'll do that and then I'll show you some progress. Right, so I've now sorted out over here a little bit, as you can see here, and obviously I've had to leave a few things outside, and I thought I might as well leave those tomatoes that are there outside still. But the other stuff, I've just thought, well, I'm going to have to put it in the middle path bit of the greenhouse for now. So I've sort of organised things into those containers a little bit and just done that, as well as obviously putting the other plants just onto that racking for now again, because it's going to be a while until the melons on either side are going to be tall enough to need stuff not to be on that racking there. So yeah, so that's that. And then on the weeding side of things, I've made some good progress on this lot, as you can see there. So started off doing the runner beans, which is this far side over here, and I'll tell you what, there's so many plants that are like identical to beans, or very similar anyway, and so it took me a while to actually figure out what was beans and what wasn't, and I think I've got everything that's beans now, and the stuff that isn't beans is gone, but I may find that a couple of these plants or something aren't actually beans. And then, as you can see as well, I've put some bamboo canes in and put some string across just to actually give them a bit of support, because they were all just trailing around all over the ground. So yeah, and then moved on to the peas, and turns out I actually only have 3 pea plants. That's 2 of them there. So yeah, there's only 3 of them there. But I've stuck a bamboo stick in next to them and got them to stay up on there, just tied them on just a tiny little bit, just to keep them there, so then they'll wrap themselves around and stuff like that. And then as for the dwarf French beans, the things that I thought were not beans, and there's one thing here left that may or may not be a dwarf French bean, but I don't know, because it's in roughly the right location in regards to my stick. So I'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. If not, no biggie, it's just sat in an empty bed anyway, well, barring the few weeds that I've left. Just yeah, so that was a bit of a failure unfortunately on them. None of them seem to have worked. But yeah, so that's that. And then I thought, well, I might as well move on to the next bed, and weeded all around the herbs, which is good. So I've now got all of them all cleared up and nice and spacious again. I'll tell you what, trying to pick all little herbs out from in between the chives, sorry, not little herbs, little weeds out from in between all the chives and in between the basil and stuff like that. It's a nightmare trying to get in between all the little ones. Just obviously I don't want to end up like chopping a load of chives down and then getting some sort of weird sort of tasting weed thing or something that's not good for you stuck in there as well. So I made sure that they were nice and clear. So I've done that. And then I've made a start on the spring onions, on clearing them all over, but I've only got halfway because I've just realised the time, and I just got a quick phone call there, and just thought, oh dear, I better pack up and I need to get going and get gone. So yeah, so basically the plan of action now is obviously I'm going to have to finish weeding that bed at some point. Might try and see if I can manage to somehow find time during the week, but if not, obviously it'll be getting done ASAP. But at least part of it's weeded now, with just that sort of like triangular area left to weed in the actual spring onions area. Then it's of course tackling this monstrosity, but that's a chore for another day. So yeah, that's it really for today. So I'll see you back in the van in a second after I've just finished tidying away these last couple of tools and stuff. So yeah, I'll see you in the van in a minute. Well, it's come to that time of day again, time to round things up and say goodbye. So thank you all very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's video on, well, finally getting the tomatoes sorted and actually making some sort of, well, back to where it was progress-wise on the beds. And, well, and progress, I suppose, on actually getting those bamboo canes in on the beans and all that sort of thing. But yeah, that's it really for today, isn't it? I've obviously
seen everything that's been done and talked about it all, and I haven't got any stories really to waffle on about. So yeah, remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the little bell button, check out the Facebook and Instagram links below, and yeah, until next time, I'm Josh, been living not existing. Goodbye.